You ever get the feeling that the entire world is against you? It's not that often for me, but it usually happens when I read the news. Most of the time, it's US news. It's become evident over my lifetime that our leaders couldn't care less about us. They act like there's two parties, like a duopoly, but there's not. There's a uniparty. They spend recklessly while their constituents drown or watch their houses burn to the ground. They aren't able to afford homes. Heck, the average age of a current home buyer is 38, and the list could go on. Honestly, you probably wouldn't be long if you made that list. It's my opinion that the Epstein saga could potentially derail this entire administration, if not take down the entire two-party system. I kind of want to get into that a little bit this episode. We've seen both parties try to bury this, it's not just Trump. I mean, he did try to call his voters dum-dums, but the reality is that we're going to have to talk about why this all matters and my thoughts on potentially moving forward and what this means for our country. Hope you had a wonderful week. Let's get into today's two headlines. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of My Sixth Sense. I am happy to be here. I've been kind of thinking all week, about how to possibly rearrange this podcast to create positivity, and it just hasn't come to me yet. So it's not that it's not going to be positive, but we have to talk about the reality of where this country could potentially be heading and things that are starting to happen that we can actually see that are tangible. So the couple things that I want to talk about this week are, Speaker Johnson blocking a bill, giving Congress recess so they didn't have to deal with the Epstein thing. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then implications of this whole Epstein thing. Again, I don't think it's just about the giant pedophile ring that involves the world's most powerful people, and he was potentially an intelligence asset for who knows what intelligence agency. I'd assume it's Mossad, CIA. Those two obviously come to mind. But it's become this bigger thing that we just have to talk about because, again, it has a lot more implications than just the deep state continuing on as they have for the last 40 years. So let's kind of talk about this whole Speaker Johnson thing. He decided to block a bill that was put forth. They want to say it's Democrats, but it's not. It was actually a bipartisan bill by the one and only, one of the greatest congressmen to ever walk the face of the planet, Thomas Massie, who. That's another thing. Trump needs to just relax. He needs to stop paying so much attention to Massie. He's got the pull of the people. He's constantly standing on business and does not care who or what thinks what of him, which I couldn't express more gratitude for. The country does need to see some of that. Again, I hesitate to trust politicians, but it just seems like time and time again, he doesn't really care about party politics. He cares about what's right for the country. And this is right. This is right for the country, period. One of the quotes that really drove me bonkers, Johnson said, the American people are best served by putting an end to Democrat sideshows. That's what we're doing by not allowing the Rules Committee to continue with that nonsense this week. Yeah, see, that's the problem. They need a PR team of some sort. They need a PR team to tell them that this is insane. That I understand, I'm sure there's lots of implications in releasing these files, everything you have. But if you're saying there's nothing, release them, let us figure it out. It's becoming this enigma now where people are well aware that there is some type of conspiracy going on that is legitimate. There's too much information out there to say that there is nothing weird going on. I mean, if you listen to Tucker's last episode, or not last episode, I think it was 2 episodes ago with Martyr Maid, he went through the entire thing about Jeffrey Epstein's life, and it was it was non-judgmental. It was like, this is the person that he is. This is what he did, period. And if you listen to that episode and you think there's probably nothing to these Epstein files, and I guess you and me don't agree, and you are lost, period. End of story. Just some thoughts about this. This is a bipartisan effort to get these released. I don't think that Trump is super implicated in this. I can't imagine if these files have been had. Trump 1, Biden, and now Trump 2. If the Democrats didn't have this, there is no way they wouldn't have released it. There's got to be something else. And again, I don't. I don't know what that something else is, but it's obviously something serious enough to try to gaslight the entire public into thinking that we're the crazy ones for wanting this. It's also spiraling his approval ratings, which I don't know why he just is hell-bent on doing that. They polled independent voters. He now has a 19% approval rating. Most of that is due to Epstein. Just these files are what it is. And yes, he was a guy who was running a blackmail operation. It's pretty evident that that's kind of how it was. His plane was, what is it? The Lolita Express, which people, even after he wasn't charged with this stuff, still hung out with him, knowing that he was doing these things, which is very concerning. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, it would be wonderful if they just, they're running cover now, right? So they're releasing the MLK files, even though the Martin Luther's family doesn't really want that to happen, but they did anyway. I think 1,000 or so pages, a couple thousand pages. And the DNI just handed over information that kind of confirms that President Obama committed treason. Again, a very interesting thing to do. It's not going to take anybody off the Epstein thing. It is something interesting to investigate. I do believe that nothing is going to happen. If anything, this Epstein thing shows that no powerful individual will ever be held accountable for anything, really. I mean, the reason his charge was overturned the first time is because he got some sweetheart deal where they didn't tell the prosecutor, they didn't tell the victims, and they just gave him, like, he could just come and go. He could break probation. All these things. The reason it got overturned is because they broke the law making that sweetheart deal. So there you go. There's your two-tiered justice system, and it's laid out for everyone to see. Everybody. I mean, we've known about this for a long time, that there is a two-tiered justice system for the rich and powerful, and then us. It's just, this is so blatant that it's just hard for people to except for complete psychopaths like Mark Levine, who I don't know what happened to him. He's gone. So there are implications to this. There are bigger underlying implications or things that could potentially happen. And that's kind of like what I've been thinking about for the last week or two. Like, for example, you have for the last 40 years been focusing on boomers. This government has printed trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, devaluing our currency. They've spent us into $36 trillion in debt. They have they printed, I can't remember how many trillions of dollars during COVID, driving just our currency into the dirt. And but good news is, boomers are doing fine. They're doing great. It's just, the problem is, it's the next 4 generations that are completely fucked. And they didn't care then, and they don't care now. You see, this big, beautiful bill just adds trillions of dollars to our debt. And we don't ever really talk about the economics part of these next generations coming to us. And Trump ran on that. Trump ran on fixing this. And, you've got things like the average age of a first-time homebuyer now is now almost 40 years old. Now, like I said, when you think about homebuyers, first-time homebuyers, you think like toddlers under their arms and, yada, 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 young kids that are just married. It's not like that anymore. And there's a good reason for that. And I know this doesn't sound like it's on the same level of Epstein, but it kind of ties into it, because we're all so tired. We're all so tired of trying to figure out how to just kind of live on a day-to-day basis financially, because no jobs really kept up with that. You have to be some type of entrepreneur. Even Larry Fink said that they're going to need 500,000 electricians, but we have a whole generation that was pushed into college who's just, they're living under debt that they'll never pay off. Their Social Security will get docked because they can't afford to pay these bills off. And these jobs need a bachelor's degree that are paying $15, $16 an hour, which just simply isn't enough to, I guess, live. We live in a renter's economy. That's because no one can afford to buy a house. And so it's just one thing after another. And the Democrats come and they say, well, we're going to help the people. Okay. And the conservatives come, well, we're going to be fiscally conservative. Neither of these two parties are for you. They act as a duopoly, but they're a uniparty. They do the exact same things. They are together. We are not. There's nothing different that Trump's doing when he's spending $6 trillion that Biden didn't do when he spent those trillions of dollars too. Trump ran on stopping weapons to Ukraine. Biden did that as well. I mean, not run on not sending them to Ukraine. He's still sending weapons to Ukraine, stockpiles of weapons, our stockpiles of weapons. And so it's one thing after another where we see our government being able to help everybody else. And I'm not talking about handouts. I'm talking about reeling the spending in that they're doing and maybe tackling the Fed, running some audits, doing things that they should be doing. Congress, one of their only jobs is to balance our budget. Not a continuing resolution, no more CRs, a balanced budget. They won't do that because they live in this fantasy world. They live in a world of political theater, and they don't understand because they're so disconnected from the rest of us that this is getting out of control because they live rich and powerful, dinner parties, drinking, having fun. They have no idea there's a recession out there. These people have no idea that the extent of the harm they're doing. They yay or nay, they vote and that's it. I believe Thomas Massie is probably the only person that truly knows what's going on. And he catches a lot of shit for it from a president who very clearly doesn't really know what to do right now. I've heard a bunch of people say, well, this wasn't on his list of things he said. Yeah, but he mentioned it on the campaign trail and people were very excited about it. And he should just listen. Just get a feel for the room. If the room's like, hey, listen, deportations are important, but we really need to know about this Epstein thing, you're for the people. So continue what you're doing. You can do 17 different things at once. You're in control of a giant part of our government. I don't want to hear that, because there was a bad storm in Texas, that you can't handle Jeffrey Epstein. And there was a bad storm in Texas. I'm not negating that or downplaying that. But we can't really do much about it, right? Because billions and billions are going overseas and funding Sesame Street in Uganda and, all this other stuff. And so what happens? What happens when a bunch of youth, young folks who are broke, destitute, feeling lost every day, outspend their own means because they just can't afford anything? What do they start doing? Well, they start listening to more radicalized people who are sounding more and more like they're for the people. Do you understand? So it's interesting to me that they wouldn't grasp this, because what's coming is a more radical agenda from a lot of people because they start using the F word, right? That F word is a very scary word. PBD says it a lot. Free. The word free. Free food, free this, free this, free. See, nothing is free. And that's where you get into a tricky spot, because you've taken our ability to live or own anything and taxed us out of any of that. And you wonder why people who are really struggling listen to people like Mamdani from New York or Omar Fateh from Minnesota, both Democratic socialists, which is not a thing. It's just socialists, which it's so funny to listen to some people try to make that sound like it's okay. Socialism is the first step in line to what? Communism. That's where it ends. There's never been a successful socialist nation, nor a communist nation. But they start throwing that word out like free. And people are hurting so bad, and they know their government isn't for them. They're just for themselves. I mean, you could make a laundry list of things that our government has done that is just completely the opposite of what our country needs. And when asked by the public, this Epstein thing, the public is clearly saying, release these files. Don't tell me anything but okay. This country deserves to know. This country deserves to know what's unblack all the 9/11 reports, just release it all. This country has a right to know that. But when you keep doing these things that are in opposition of the betterment of our country and people, please don't be surprised when folks start moving to a more radicalized way of thinking. I mean, Mamdani, in that debate, they were like, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go? Everyone's like, Israel. Guess what he said? Why would I go anywhere? I go to New York. I live here. I'm for here. Sounds like a guy you might want to vote. He's interested in fixing New York, But the thing is, the policies that they run on are kind of scary. I'm trying to find, okay, here we go. If elected mayor, he would raise the city's minimum wage, increase the supply of affordable housing, and combat what he calls police violence, price controls. You can't, I don't know, man. These are very radical ways of thinking. And if you do want to get into a decent book about this, Rules for Radicals is a great read. But this is just what happens when you've got a government that's completely out of control on both sides and doesn't care about their people. They make you believe that because it's showmanship, right? They figured separate us so much that they don't really have to do shit. All they have to do is just the bare minimum. The problem with this Epstein thing is it's not this little thing they can nip in the butt, because what they've taken is a completely opposite approach. And I don't really want to hear any Democrat acting like, oh, why? Because Trump's in the files. Like, dude, your guy was too. Everybody's in there. The Democrats should have done this. The Republicans should have done it. They're not doing it because it's against their interest, not the people's interest. It's against their interest to release this stuff because it's just an actual shit show in Washington, right? And now we're all surprised that a guy like Mamdani or Fateh are going to be running for a mayor. And if this continues, they could probably win. You're talking about price controls, free grocery stores. Free. You see how this is free? That's not how, it's so confusing to me because I'm just, dude, I have just a regular job. I just read a lot. And it's pretty evident to me that this is kind of how it's going, right? I listen to people like Tucker or Dave Smith or sometimes Matt Walsh, Tim Dillon, these people. But outside of that, it's pretty evident to me after the bungled Epstein thing, which is a nightmare. This could really have some serious implications. Hey, listen, Tulsi, I appreciate you bringing this front and center with the whole Obama thing. That is insane that happened, and I appreciate what you're doing. But we're not going to forget about Epstein. And if this Obama thing happens and nobody goes to prison for it, just like nobody's going to go to prison for anything, no one's going to get perp walked, no one's going to be in handcuffs. I mean, that whole thing, the whole Russia collusion thing is about as, in my opinion, about as treasonous as it gets. All those powerful people we will never see any justice for these people because they live in the sky pretty much. And so I guess the importance of Epstein is not just on helping the victims, which is a big part of it, and showcasing the absolute audacity of and disgustingness of these individuals because they all deserve to be buried under a prison somewhere. There's also a side of that has long-lasting implications where you're starting to see these people on the left come out and say, listen, these people aren't for you. This city has been basically burnt to the ground. These policies just aren't working. Come over here. We'll give you free stuff. We're going to give you tuition-free college, price-controlled housing, grocery stores that are city-owned. These all things, they sound great, especially in a time where we need all the help we can get. I know this. My daycare, I have kids. Daycare is $615 a week. You get no help if you make over $4,000 gross a month, which is about a $16, which is like what they pay you at Target. So it's either, have to make a sacrifice when the generation before us, the boomers, they just don't get it. They don't understand. They're just like, well, why don't you pull yourself up by your bootstraps? And this silly shit doesn't work anymore. Things cost a lot more. It's not back in the day where, you knew your dad knew a guy named Jim and now you're the manager of an entire plant. And you're making enough to send all of your kids to college and you can buy your first house after your second paycheck. You see what I'm saying? And then 30 years in the future, when you decide to retire, your house is now, instead of worth the $10,000 or $20,000 that you bought it at, it's now worth $1.6 million. And you guys are just, hey, that's fine. Listen, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. Like, oh, okay, did you? We're getting crushed here economically, this generation and my children's generation. And our government is doing nothing about it. The deep state is alive and well. The uniparty does exist. These people are not for you. Massie is the closest, but I said this in the last election. There's always hope for me every time someone takes office, but then it just seems like, sure, there's some decent things people do, decent things that presidents do, but then there's a lot of giant failures that unfortunately overshadow all this decent stuff you do. Now, we haven't made it out of the first year of Trump. Maybe he comes to his senses. Maybe he releases the entire Epstein file. Maybe the judge does unseal the grand jury testimony. Maybe Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna's bill gets pushed through and they are forced to do that. It's the only way forward, in my opinion. And it's not, again, it's not controlling my mind. All I'm saying, I'm issuing a warning to these people. Not that they listen to me or care. They've probably already been told this, and they don't care enough. That's the thing. They don't care about us. And they've probably been told by staffers who are almost as oblivious that, like, hey, listen, if this doesn't happen, I mean, Tim Dillon said he went to dinner, and they know the implications. He went to dinner with some people in the Trump, I don't know if it's White House, but who work for Trump, and they know the implications here. This could derail him. He could get spanked in the midterms, which again, whatever. That's what you did. You did that. You called us all dum-dums for worrying about this. The last 40 years of presidents have driven us into the ground with regime changes, wars, and spending money overseas, which is completely contrary to what our founding fathers subscribed to. Period. And now you've got a generation of kids who just simply can't own a home, can't own anything, can't have kids because they can't afford them. Have to have, the resumes of some of these kids, there's 15, 16 jobs. And you can't blame them, because if one job offers $1 more, you got to take it. Next job offers $1 more, you got to take it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have jobs for 30 or 40 years now. You don't have single jobs. There are a couple out there. I happen to, oddly enough, work for one. But don't be surprised. Do not be surprised when these people, these independents that you call dum-dums and try to get us off the scent by issuing this thing for Obama that probably will go nowhere. And if it does, then Tulsi should be fired for lying. Because if this is true, all this is true, I mean, you know what should happen, right? We're all on board with he should go to prison, period. He won't, but he should. And that's just the way it works. Yeah. So you've got all these people, and you're not really sure, all these independents, all these dum-dums that can't let go of Epstein, they're now going to move over to people like Mamdani, who are saying, instead of me going to Israel or going anywhere in the world, I would like to stay here and fix here. Because that's just something our current two-party situation never says. They say it when they campaign, because they have to, right? We're going to bring this back and we're for you. I mean, that's basically how Trump won. He went to like coal mining town. We're going to bring this back, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. It's like, dude, we're still crushed. Nothing gigantic has changed. You got Mike Johnson saying he's a fiscal hawk. You just signed a bill that puts $6+ trillion on our national debt. He's like, we can't just shut this off. It's like, yes, you can. And you need to. And the problem is, it's going to be super painful for a lot of people. And blame nobody. Do not blame just Trump. You blame every single politician of your lifetime. Every single one. Whether they have a D or an R next to their names. They are radicalizing an entire group of people. And I don't think they're ready for the consequences of that, or they're just too blind to see what's happening. Because you see them making the rounds on these talk shows, like, well, he's a socialist, and he's not a communist, he's a socialist. Like, I mean, yeah, he will. That's what happens after socialism. Socialism is the slow walk, road to serfdom. Please read it. If you need the book and the link, link to the book in this episode's description, I will give it to you. It is a kind of a tough read, but you can get it on Audible if you want to, but it is all about this. Yeah. A Road to Serfdom by F.A. Hayek. You'll find out what happens. I mean, it's a book about how it starts. And this is exactly how this starts. And we need help, and we truly, truly, truly need to come together and kind of fight this monstrosity. And instead of listening to kind of what they say, talk to your fellow man. There are plenty, man or woman, plenty of times where I have conversations with folks and I think they're super one-sided or super the other side. Come to find out, we've got a lot in common, and there's just several things that we don't agree on, but that doesn't mean that we can't accomplish the same goal. Both, regardless of who you are, you still want your kids to be successful, your friends to be successful, everyone to have a decent life. You watched your parents do it for. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a wonderful home. I got to watch my parents just do that, work for their working life and retire very, very, very comfortably. That's not going to happen anymore. You have to be very there are ways to do it. I'm not saying that you should just sit on your bum, but I'm just saying their generation was able to work at one job for their entire life and be paid. It's not that way anymore. And I know I'm repeating myself, but if we continue down this route where we are against each other at every section of the road and not holding our leadership who are in charge accountable, frankly, my first move was they all need to move out of DC. DC should almost become a ghost town, but a few times a year where they meet on certain things. These people need to live in their communities. In fact, all of their salaries should be based on the average salary of their state or district. They should not live there, just like the founding fathers never, they didn't want that either. They lived in they more connected to their communities. They might get a real sense of what's actually going on. And it's interesting too, especially with going back, I'm just reading Mike Johnson quotes. He said, "We're done being lectured on transparency." This guy is insane. That's wild. You haven't been transparent ever about anything. In fact, you've bungled most of it. So you know what? We're all tired of being lectured about how we need to just pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We're tired of being lectured by a bunch of incompetent politicians about how they have to spend $6 trillion to make money. We're tired of being lectured about how it's more pertinent for us to send weapons to Ukraine than help the people of Texas, California, Florida, or Western North Carolina. We're tired of being lectured by these people that don't give one shit about me or my family. And all they got to do is go on TV and say something, right? I mean, we're tired of it. We're tired of the shenanigans. We're tired. I'll speak for myself. I'm tired of the shenanigans. I'm tired of both sides. I'm tired of all the, I make a lot of comparisons. Comparisons are the thief of all joy. Be the best you, blah, 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 blah. I am so sick and tired of, it's like if the right says something, then the left says, well, what about, they do the whataboutism, but they've all done the same thing. They always do the same thing. All of them are hypocrites. All of them. I can't stress this enough. The only part of this country that isn't together is us, is the population. It's not our leadership. Our leadership is on the same page, doing the same shit, keeping Epstein under wraps, just doing illegal shit and not caring about its constituents only until it's election time and then asking for your money. I mean, I can't think at this moment of something absolutely wonderful that any president has really, really, really made a super big impact. Shutting down the border was good. Bidenomics was awful. I'm sure I can find a couple things that he did that were okay. Trump won. That was kind of a nightmare, if you remember. Clearly committed treason. If that's the truth, if that's what's the truth, then obviously anyway, I hope that everyone has a wonderful week. I hope that when talking about politics with friends or family, you'll realize that a lot of you are on the same page. Some people have been radicalized and that is tough to figure out, but that's what happens when a whole population of people are beat down to the point of like they just don't really know what to do, and it becomes scary when you push people into a corner like that and then act like it's like it's not all their fault. Sometimes it is, but I'm just saying this government has not made it easy to be a citizen of this country sometimes, and the future looks very bleak in my opinion. So love thy neighbor, enjoy your week, pay attention. I really believe this whole Epstein thing has a lot more implications than just the way it is. And lastly, don't listen to anything Israel says, because that government's a bunch of crazy people. Don't know why that came to my head, but I saw a picture of Netanyahu this morning, and it upset me to the point of no return, because he just runs our government. Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful week.